Yo guys, what's going on? Robert Warshack here, and I have a bunch of day one decks for you to try with the new expansion, the Great Dark Beyond. We played a bunch today. We got a lot under our belt, and we saw a lot. Number one, the Elemental Burn Mage. It seemed very strong during the Theory Crafting event, and very strong today. So going over a couple new cards that are found in the deck. It's the Spontaneous Combustion. It's a 2-mana, deal 4 damage to a random enemy. However, if you played an Elemental last turn, you can choose to target a minion or your opponent's face. It's a fire spell, so it synergizes really well with the Blazing, which is a 3-mana 3/1 battle cry. Destroy the top 3 cards of your deck. Any fire spells or elementals are drawn instead. Obviously, with the whole deck being all elementals and fire spells, you're never gonna discard anything. You're just gonna 3-mana 3/1 draw 3, and this is an elemental himself. You have the Blasteroid. He's a 3-mana 3/4 elemental. Shuffle 5 random fire spells into your deck. They cost 2 less. A lot of really good fire spells that you can get from this that are exceedingly powerful, and the fact that they're discounted is huge. Lamplighter is over the top burn. You really don't need spells when you can just play 8 elementals in a row and then hit your opponent for 8 with this guy. It's just a ton of damage. Another key card in the deck that synergizes a lot with the spells and the spells that you're going to generate through the Blasteroid is going to be the Sarun. He's a 6-mana 7/6, so big stats and an insane ability of Battle Cry. Give all other elementals in your deck plus 1 fire spell damage, which is insane with our Overflow Surger and obviously every other elemental in the deck, but ideally this guy. So this guy summons a copy of this for each turn you've played an elemental, which means you're going to play 7 of these guys, 6 of these guys, 5 of these guys. It's going to copy itself. They're all going to have spell power, and with that spell power, you're going to play Solar Flare, which is deal 2 damage to all enemies, including their face. Costs 1 less for each elemental you control. Most of the time, you're going to have more than 5 because he summons himself. It's a 0-mana deal, what is that, 9? And then obviously with your Combustion, it's going to be a lot of damage, and then you also run the Heat Wave, which is even more damage. So this deck just does a lot of damage over the top, has a lot of aggressiveness with just you're playing minions every turn, you're doing damage over the top, you keep drawing, you keep summoning minions, and it's just really powerful against basically any slower deck or unrefined deck right now. So Elemental Mage, very good, very not too hard to play, and pretty beginner friendly in regards to just like how it plays out. Moving down to the Nebula Shaman. This is another deck I played during the Theory Crafting event. Didn't see too much of it today, but it is a fantastic sort of asteroid combo shaman deck. So new cards in the deck, we have Murmur, which is your battle cry minions, cost 1 but immediately die after being played. This is going to be really good with Hagatha, and the reason being is you're going to be able to draw 2 spells that cost 5 or more. You transform them into slimes. The slimes are now battle cries, which means they cost 1. So you're going to be able to pick up your Wish Upon a Star or your Nebula. When you do that, you're going to be able to play them again and then make a field full of minions. And then on top of that, we run the Parrot Sanctuary, which is your next battle cry minion, costs 1 less, making it cost 0. So between the Parrot Sanctuary and the Murmur and the Hagatha, you're just going to fill up your board on turn like 5 or 6 full of 8-mana minions, I believe. And they're going to have Taunt and they're going to have Elusive. Really solid. You also have the ability to Shudder on top of the Sasquatch, which is going to, again, summon a whole bunch of minions that you summoned the previous turn or spells. And if that's not enough, of course, you run the Meteor Storm and the Behemoth and all of the small asteroid cards to be able to kill your opponent. So slightly harder deck to play than the Mage deck we just went over. But if you like control and you like Shaman and you want to play new asteroids while also making giant swing turns, this is a fantastic choice for you. Keep in mind with the Elemental Mage and this Shaman deck, I'll put the links to the videos I made on these already below. So you'll have a good reference of how the deck kind of functions. Moving to the 2 Druid decks. So the first one I played was the Starship Arcane Druid. I played this during the Theory Crafting event as well. It was one of my favorite decks during that event. It has a ton of potential with the Final Frontier, which is discover a 10-cost card minion from the past. So old Yogg, Scrapyard Colossus, old Onyxia, and set its cost to 1. But you combo this with your Starlight Reactor after you cast an arcane spell, recast it. So you're going to be able to make some pretty insane pop-off turns like that. And then, again, we run the Starship, so we run the Exodar, and just a bunch of giant stuff. We also run the Messiah, so Final Frontier. If we play that during that, we get another 10-drop. Really fun deck, really enjoyed it. We run the double Mind Control tech in here specifically because Druid has a hard time with dealing with wide boards from our opponent. So being able to tech against that, pretty solid. However, if you don't really want to run the Starship / Arcane package, I do have a Taunt Druid here, which is quite a bit different because it doesn't run the Arcane package or the Starship package, but it does run the new Stargrazer, which is an 8-mana 8/8 elusive taunt spell burst. Give your hero +8 attack this turn and gain 8 armor. So very similar to old Guff in the past, inside a minion with elusive and of course taunt. We use the Hydration Station, so we get to resummon the Stargazer. and then we play a spell to pop it again. But the other taunt minions we bring back with it is Greybra, which is Death Rattle, give a friendly minion Death Rattle, summon another Greybra, which is super insane, especially with just summoning more and more Greybras. And then you run the Ziliax, which has Death Rattle, which means the Greybra is always going to have something to attach to, because the problem is, like, your opponent plays a whole field removal, like Twisting Nether or something like that, but we don't have to fear because the Greybra would just land on Ziliax, and then Ziliax gets resummoned, which will summon another Greybra. So really, really good that way. Another new card that we run in this deck is going to be the Ethereal, which is a spell damage +1 spell burst, draw 2 cards. So it's a really good draw for 3 mana, and it synergizes really well with our toy chest, which the toy chest can pick up Hydration Station, Sleep Under the Stars, Martin, Stargazer, Ziliax, Eleanor. There's a million things that toy chest can hit. So that's really, really good as well. So this is sort of like a super control, super value Druid deck. The Arcane one's a little bit faster, but it relies heavily on that Final Frontier card. So 2 different Druid decks, both of them run some new cards and feel really, really nice and quite fun for me. Moving down to the Rainbow Deathknight, this played a lot of this today, probably one of the better decks at the moment. A lot of people running the OTK Rogue today, which basically draws their whole deck by turn 5, 6, or 7. So running Helya right now is really, really, really good. Every time I played Helya against that OTK Rogue with the Meteors, we won. We didn't lose a single game that we played Helya against it. However, drawing Helya is a problem because that deck consistently pops off by turn 6. So if you don't find Helya by turn 6, it's a problem. Another new card this deck runs is the Airlock Breach, which is a summon a 5/5 undead with taunt and give your hero +5 health. Spend 5 corpses, do it again. 6 mana, gain 10 health, summon 10/10 with taunt. Very, very nice. ETC has another one in there as well. Spending corpses is good because, of course, we run the Chromatic Explosion, so being able to juice this guy up for our late game finisher is super nice. And ETC also runs Kil'jaeden, so if we find ourselves needing more value against another control deck, which really hasn't happened, but just to have it, Kil'jaeden and ETC is quite solid as well. And the other new card in this deck is the Maladar, which is a 6 mana 5/5 battle cry. The next card you play this turn costs corpse instead of mana, which means if we have 10 corpses by turn 6, we can go ahead and play Yogg or Reno or Chromatic or Prime or Martin. There's a ton of really great cards we can play with this guy if we have corpses. Having corpses, though, that many by turn 6, depending on the curve, may not always work out. But overall, being able to spend these corpses to summon a giant tempo swing like this, really, really nice. I was actually super surprised at how well-rounded this Rainbow DK performed. It just felt like it had stuff to do every turn. It was very aggressive, but it also had a lot of control, and it also just had a lot of options just for gaining life or removing minions or getting value. Whatever I needed, this deck somehow just had it, and that's a really good sign. Plus, it was a lot of fun. Moving down to the outvalue any other control deck. This is a very interesting deck here. We have the Wheel of Death, Kil'jaeden. So Kil'jaeden replaces your deck with an endless portal of demons. Each turn they gain an additional +2/+2, which means if we play Wheel of Death, if we have Kil'jaeden already out, the Legion portals are unaffected. We still just draw from the portal. It doesn't destroy anything, and we just win in 5 turns. If we play the Wheel of Death first, and then we play Kil'jaeden, that works too, because the portal, again, is just drawing demons every turn. So between the Wheel of Death and the Kil'jaeden, you're always going to be able to have endless value. They're always going to every turn get +2/+2, and then you're going to win in 5 turns when you play Wheel of Death. However, deck is very slow, and we have some healing issues. So the way we fix that is we play Heart of the Legion on top of the Felfire Thrusters, which are Starship pieces. Because this has Spell Burst, deal this minion's attack damage to 2 random enemy minions, and this has Lifesteal, when those 2 dies and we summon our Starship, between using Reverb, which will summon a copy of the Starship, it'll copy the Spell Burst, so you'll be able to almost heal the full that way. Or you'll play Monstrous Form on top of your Starship or your Felfire Thrusters. Again, be able to heal and kill your opponent's minions. Because we have a ton of demons in the deck, Black Hole, destroy all minions except demons, pretty solid. And then we run Sargeras as our super late game. He's a demon, he doesn't die to Black Hole, and he gives us taunts every turn, so that's super nice. This deck is exceedingly slow, doesn't really have any OTK combo, but it will outvalue inevitably and just win with Wheel of Death against pretty much aggro. Got a good amount of healing, has a good amount of defense with just stuff Defile, Drain Soul. We've got Domino Effect, we have Defense Crystals, we've got the Dark Alley Pact with Forge of Wills. There's just a lot of stuff going in this deck. I think we could even weave in a Loken. I'm just not sure what I would take out for a Loken at the moment, but Loken could be good, so you can kind of target your Kil'jaeden or your Sargeras for a big minion to work with your Forge of Wills. So that's something to think about there. Really fun Warlock deck. If you like Handlock, you like control lock, this is going to be right up your alley. The last deck that we're going to take a look at is going to be the Control Warrior. Unfortunately, Control Warrior really didn't get a lot this expansion, but it did get the Spore. So the Spore is a 6 mana 6/7, but not why we play it. At the start of the game, shuffle 7 replicating spores into your deck. These are 5 mana, summon a random 5-cost minion. Your future replicating spores, summon it as well. So you play a Spore, you get a random 5-drop. You play a next Spore, you get a new 5-drop and the old 5-drop that you did. Play another Spore, you get a new 5-drop and the previous 2 5-drops that you got. And as you can see here, your opponent will inevitably not have a removal for all of these because you have 7, and each time you play one, you get 1 more. This is a lot of field control. For at first, you're paying a pretty premium for it because you're getting a random 5-drop, but once you get to like your 3rd Spore, and as long as you hit like any rushers, you hit any taunts, death rattle effects, there's a lot of decent 5-drops out there. Pretty good card, a lot of value in here, but kind of slow, but that's Control Warrior. Another new card we're running is the Hostile Invader. It's a 5 mana 3/5 demon, battle cry, spell burst, and death rattle. Deal 2 damage to all other minions, not including this guy. So on turn 6 or 7, you can play this guy, play a spell, you deal 4 to everything. When it dies, you do another 2 to everything. Decent AoE, decently sized minion. Pretty cool effect. Not really sure how powerful he is. He feels okay, but he's a new card, so we threw him in there. Besides that, we played the entirety of the Excavate package for more value and just more cards, so all of those cards. We also run the Odin because there's a lot of armor game with reinforced plating, shield block. Also with the Ignis, being able to get the weapon with Wind Fury that gives armor is very solid as well. And then Bomb Boss. We don't run like Bran or anything, or Reno or anything. He's just an 8 mana if your opponent's playing some sort of OTK or control deck. Being able to just play Bomb Boss and then shuffle the bombs and then hopefully kill one of their combo pieces is pretty good, but Bomb Boss by no means is the core of the deck or the point of the deck. Another weird card in the deck is the Forge Ring. Because we run the Spore, and the Spore is going to shuffle 7 additional cards into our deck, it's a little bit harder to find our Odin. So being able to play Talon, which is going to guarantee we hit Odin, is pretty nice as well, because if we get to our late game and we're not drawing Odin, bad things can happen. So it's nice to have a couple win conditions between, again, the Ignis is a win condition, the Excavate is a win condition, the Spores are a win condition, the Odin is a win condition, and then the Bomb Boss, again, is more of not really a win condition, but it supports you not losing by killing your opponent's win condition. So a lot of pretty well-rounded warrior deck here, has a lot of defensive maneuvers, has a lot of early game removal, and it's an end game is very good as well. So with that, those are all of our day 1 decks that include some new cards. Of course, if you don't have any of the new cards and you still want to play any of the old meta decks, obviously still work. Right now people are still refining all of these new decks and new cards, so theoretically the old meta decks are very, very good. But if you want to play with some new cards, all of the decks I listed include new cards in them, and they feel pretty flavorful. So with that, as always guys, I'm Warshack, and happy whatever the hell day it is.